Hi, this is Kamran Ali, and I'm going to talk about oral communication. This is part two. I can be contacted at kamranali.com. Let's discuss. All right, techniques for managing hostile audience members. And then first of all, we need to know who are hostile audience members. They are the people who are likely to oppose you during your talk. They are the one who are going to criticize you, and but there are ways to handle them. And first of them is grapevine. Now, what is grapevine? Grapevine is an informal channel through which information flows in an organization. Now, it's just like that. For example, you're working in a certain, in a particular post, right? Okay, in your organization, and you come to know something about your department from some other department. You're right where you have got a friend, and who tells you, and that information has been passed on to you because you happen to be his friend. Otherwise, there hasn't been any official statement or news about it, right? So this way you have actually got the information through grapevine. All right, now why grapevine is important in this context? It is important because if you use you can use grapevine to find out the information about the audience, right? For example, you're going to you're going to give a talk in a particular organization. You have a friend there, right? You can use that friend to get important information about the audience members. You can ask him to give you information about their uh, professional knowledge, their expertise, their likes, dislikes, what sort of uh, philosophy they hold, right? What's and of course their take on the topic you're going to talk about. So you get all this information, and then you use this information to form better strategies to deal with them. Then comes mingling. Mingling is another strategy which is used to find out about your audience. What happens that you just read sometime before at the venue, and you have a chit chat with the audience, uh, and try to get information about their likes, dislikes, their take on the topic, their expertise in the field, and all that. And then you use that information to form better strategies to deal with the audience, or to deal with them during your talk, or during question answer session. Then comes considering ignorance. It's very simple. Considering, sorry, I skipped one. Then comes knowing your stuff. Knowing your stuff means that you must have got command over your uh, topic. Now, how are you going to get command over your topic? Of course, you need to, research a lot. To the extent that you get some information, to the extent that you get some information, which is new, which is unique, which is not accessible by everybody, right? And if you have, researched a lot on the topic, and if you've been able to get very good information, right, which is useful and which is likely to impress others, right? Then you will end up, showing, yes, you are showing to your audience that you've got expertise in the area, and this will definitely generate some sort of respect in their hearts. All right, then comes conceding ignorance. Conceding ignorance means that you actually admit, that you don't know a particular thing. For example, you are asked a tough question on the topic, and you honestly don't have answer to it, and you realize this. So instead of giving the wrong answer, you simply tell the audience that you have no knowledge of this, and you will find out about it and get back to them. This will actually improve their trust. All right, and this will also get you some sort of very good credibility, right? Because at least they will realize that you don't lie. You are an honest person, and whatever you're sharing, right, is up, must be up to the mark, because what you don't know, you admit it, right? Okay, then comes holding back. Holding back means that you retain some information which you think is important and new, and which is going to leave a very good impression onto the audience, and you retain it till the end to yourself, right? You keep it to yourself, right? And then in the end, you reveal it, so the audience, leave with a very good impression of yours. Another thing which can be done, this is strategy holding back, that you retain some information which is quite obvious one, and which the audience expects to share with them, expects you to share with them, but you keep it to yourself, because you want audience to base their question on that stuff, so you could answer their questions smartly in the end, right? So this can also be done. But usually the people, most of the speakers, they retain the information which is new. They do not take the risk of giving the impression that they don't know even the basic stuff. Listening with your eyes, it means that you got to watch their non-verbal language, and you have to note their facial expression, gestures, postures, because non-verbal language of the audience gives you a lot of information regarding your your presentation, whether they like the presentation, they don't like it, right? So you learn about their feelings through their non-verbal language. Now, for example, if someone is looking sideways, right, you immediately learn that the person is not taking interest. So either that means something is wrong with your talk, or you got to do something to draw the person's attention. So this his non-verbal language actually can help you to form better strategy. Then comes pulling the rug. It means that you got to defend yourself. If you are challenged if you're challenged, right, or you're assaulted, right, through some challenging questions or something like that, then you must, come up with reasons, or come up with the recent researches, and tell them that what they are talking about is maybe true, years back, but now recent things are different. So actually, you're trying to restore your respect, and you're trying to rather restore your position, right? You're getting you're getting command over the audience, right? So this can be used. Sometimes some people, they manipulate information also. They actually what they do, that they uh, lie to the audience, that what they're saying may be right, or maybe right years back, but now things are different. And whereas the thing is that the audience pointed it out rightly. In that case, for the time being, you can manage to avoid any sort of problem, but in the long run, you will ruin your reputation. So pulling the rug means that where you do have a reason to defend yourself, only then you defend it. Otherwise, go for conceding ignorance or something like that, right? Then comes avoiding arrogance. Here, avoiding arrogance means that if the audience is being rude and giving tough time by passing comments, or by using uh, not very positive, non-verbal, language, then you must avoid the audience. Do not react, because this is what exactly audience wants you to do. So you stay calm and continue with your talk, and avoid your arrogance, and if you do it so, you will definitely be able to avoid any sort of chaos during your talk. Then comes multiple questionnaires. Of course, if the audience is hostile, chances are there may be many questionnaires. Right now, the thing is that how to handle them. how to organize them, how to make sure that they take their turn. So what you should do, that you should, invite questions, not invite, yeah, invite questions, or invite multiple questioners by their names, right? Not questions by their names, rather invite multiple questioners by their names, right? Or if you don't know their names, then you got to use this identification tactic, which I'll be talking about after uh, the recognition tactic. Right now, let's talk about recognition tactic. Recognition tactic. Uh, Recognition tactic means that you praise your audience. You praise your audience and appreciate their questions. Appreciate that they have taken some time out to listen to you, and this will actually reduce the hostility in them. Then comes identification tactic. Identification tactic means that you should be able to identify your audience either by their names or through clues which are which are distinctive to them, right? Distinctive to them means that uh, those clues actually, or those features make them stand out from the rest. For example, if someone is wearing a red shirt, you can point him out that the man in red. If someone is talking to some other person, you can point out the one who has been talking a lot during the session. So these are the features which are associated to a particular member in audience, right? And this is how you can identify them. Then comes later tactic. Later tactic means that you tell the audience that you'll answer the question in the end. This way you get some time, right? You're able to get some time, and you can think of a better answer if you cannot think of a particular answer that moment. And sometimes what happens then when you do it, so in the end it gets out of audience mind also to ask that particular question. And time, sometimes what happens, the time, uh, yeah, so sometimes you run out of the time also. All right, then comes detox. Detox means that you reduce the harshness of a strict or blunt question. For example, if someone says that, "Sir Kamran, why are you so strict?" I can reframe this question by saying that, you mean that why I am not lenient? Now see, I've replaced this, strict with lenient, because lenient has positive connotation as compared to strict. So I've been able to reduce the harshness of that question, and I'm trying to, uh, associate, something positive with myself, right? Now comes the filibuster. Filibuster is used by politician. Actually, in the parliament, you are given some time slot to talk on a particular topic or to answer a particular question. So what politicians do, they kill time uh, by talking about something which is not relevant, and finally they're able to avoid the question, or avoid answering the question, or avoid talking on the topic which audience actually wants them to talk about, right? Then comes the plant is the technique in which you actually deploy your own people, right, as participants, and they ask you questions which actually suit you, and this way you actually end up answering questions very smartly. Then comes confidentiality tactic. Confidentiality tactic means that you tell the audience that you cannot answer a particular question, or you cannot talk about a particular thing because it is confidential and there is a risk involved, and this is usually done by officials. Last point is telling the truth. Telling the truth means that you do not lie to them, you speak the truth. And because if you lie to them, you sometimes you may be sued because you've given the wrong information, or Another risk is that you will end up winning bad reputation, right? All right, class, I'll continue with this. Also, planning and structuring what is your message. This is very important aspect because you have to plan your presentation, you have to plan your talk, you have to structure, you have to, structure it, right? For example, here we can see two things: time planning and content planning. Now, time planning means that how much time am I going to, finish my, how much time I'm going to take to finish my talk. Now, of course, it sometimes you are given, a particular slot, and you have to finish your talk in that during that during that slot. And sometimes you haven't been given any slot, but you have to decide on, you know, the length of the time, because of course you are a human being, you cannot keep on talking for the whole day, right? And then, so this means that time planning in some cases, depends on your the on on the available content. Sometimes the content is to be planned, in keeping view the available time slot. So all these two things are to be, adjusted, right? Or they are to be matched with each other. Now let's talk about content planning. Content planning includes one, two, three, four, five things. The first one is pattern of exposition. Now, pattern of exposition means that, how you're going to expose the information to the audience. Now, there are many approaches, which can be taken when you're giving information. For example, if I have to talk on smoking or about smoking, I can start off with the history. I can talk about advantages and disadvantages. I can talk about, the reason why people smoke. I can talk about smoking and gender. I can talk about teenagers and smoking. I can talk about, types of smoking. Now I've got lots of stuff. Now, which pattern am I going to use? Or, which pattern am I going to use? Or how many patterns I'm going to, incorporate into my talk? For example, I may go for, instead of 10 patterns, I can go for like two or three, depending on the available time and depending on, what I'm expected to talk about, right? What is my focus? Which aspect I want to give the prominence to. Then comes content quantity. Of course, content quantity depends on the time, available time. Content quantity depends on, the expectations of your audience, right? It depends on, the level of your audience, the kind of knowledge they have, and that's why audience analysis is very important. Then comes focus. Focus means that with which aspects you want to be prominent, which aspects are your focus, and so you'll be talking about most of the about those aspects most of the time. Then comes the spice. Spice means that are you going to, start off your talk? Are you going to start off with a quotation or a weird description by asking a question to the reader, or by presenting facts? Which approach you are going to take? What sort of attention getters you will be using? Then comes multiple audience channels. Of course, when you're talking to the audience, there may be, multiple numbers. For example, there may be males and females, teenagers and adults, and all that sort. Okay, so in that case, you really need to try to, cater everybody's needs, and and you may, end up choosing more than two or three channels. For example, if you have teenagers in your audience, you may prefer to have a video or something which is, which is lively, which is, appealing to the teenagers, right? Okay, then finally, your talk should be structured in three parts. The first thing that you tell what you're going to tell them, that means you introduce the topic. and list the main, or subheadings, and tell them and tell them what's your topic actually will be based on, what sort of components are involved, right? And then finally share the material, and then recapitulate the main points, so they could when they're leaving, uh, they could take something productive in their mind, something fresh in their mind. I hope students you have understood everything. Take care, stay blessed, stay home, have a nice time. Allah Hafiz.